why I don't use the Canon Eos M50, even though it's there, and I record this instead on my phone, on a Galaxy S10. The question is fairly simple. Why would you record something on a phone if you also have a professional grade camera? First, I can actually connect a professional mic, if this ever stays in place. I can actually connect the Zoom H6 via USB to my phone and listen to the audio of the video while I'm recording it, which would also be possible if I connected this via audio jack to the Canon Eos M50, but the Canon Eos M50 does only have a microphone input but not an output. I mean, obviously, you could buy a camera that has a microphone output like the Canon Eos ATD, but I wanted to go for a smaller camera and I accepted the compromise. So therefore, here is the actual camera input, not the camera, but the microphone input. I recorded a few videos with this camera, but most of these videos I record with my phone. Here is now why. First of all, the audio. I can just check the audio, and I also, if I record the audio via USB, it's not that I have tested this to all extents or in all different situations, but what I find usually the audio is not clipping. Even though sometimes it's clipping on here, the audio isn't clipping in the phone. This means the automatic level feature whenever you record something on your camera on the phone also kicks in and levels the audio of the external mic that's connected to the camera. This means the phone is just kind of a little bit smarter than a camera. A camera is pretty much, at this point in time, still a dumb thing to record videos. Of course, there are processors in there, but they are mainly used for image processing and not so much for processing additional features, like this, for example. Also, the second main point now is that I just can record everything. This is not the second main point, but one of the main points, or let's just describe it like this. Phones have gotten so good that I can go in here with my mouse now, because my mouse is connected and I have it on my desk here, and I can, if you actually take a look at the ceiling, I can actually intensify the blur in the background and I can get rid of it. This means I can basically simulate a DSLR look on my camera. Even now the background is completely gone. There are even, if you record things on Snapchat or on TikTok, you can even use green screen while recording all the things. So basically do everything in camera, because phones these days are not really phones anymore, but they are mobile computers we have in our pockets that also happen to have the call functionality and a pretty decent camera. So now I can just use these features and just have the background completely blurred, for example, whenever I am recording in a car and I don't want random people who drive by to be in the video, and also they probably don't want to be. I cannot really record. So what just happened is that my camera crashed because it didn't take the big circle blur, so the blur of the complete background, because it couldn't calculate it at the same time. But this is just something that will be solved in the near-term future, I guess, at least if you wait a few years. So, of course, there are limitations on a phone, and also it's still a phone camera. It's not even the rear camera, because I use this camera, because then I can always see how the image looks. And even though I tend to look into my own eyes when recording the video, because I don't really, the camera is just in the right up corner. I mean, that's just something else, but I can actually quality control the image and the audio at the same time. So this means I don't record for 40 minutes and then realize that I just looked into the camera and it wasn't even recording, because I know it's recording because I see it there. You can also see it in the camera, but all the quality controls just are much better in a phone, especially when it comes to the audio. This is just so big. So this is the second point. The second point was that phones are just that good, and now you can use them for also recording these things. Here's the third point. The third point now is that I have my phone, you could just call it portability. This is still a pretty chunky camera, and there's only one lens. I have another lens, then I have an additional charger, then I have an additional camera bag, because you have to put it somewhere. Then you have to have filters on here, and you also have to have a lens cap, and You have to, all these different things are just things. And this is also heavy, and it's also probably $1,000. This means it could also get stolen. You have to have a phone with you anyway. So if you have a phone with you anyway, then you have a camera with you anyway. And if the camera in the phone is that good, that you can actually use it to also record videos when you are in a studio setup like this here, this just means that why not just use the phone to record all of the things? Because then you don't have to think about the camera, because you have the camera with you at any point in time. This now is still the third point, but what it enables you to do is to not think about the quality and also not think about the camera. Of course, if you record something just on the phone, then you don't use an external mic. But if you, for example, what I often do is whenever I record things where the thing is more important than me talking and where I actually want to show things in reality, I just record it like this and I speak to. So the distance to the mic of the phone is very close. So therefore the audio is pretty good, you could say. And also the microphone of these phones is pretty good compared to the microphones of cameras, which sometimes just are not really good. And now I just point my camera at the things I want to point them at, or I just hold it in my hand and I actually record myself like this. It's so easy. You don't have to have a tripod with you because the camera stabilization is that good these days. You just hold your camera out like this. It's not even in the picture because my arm is long. And then you just talk. That's it. Of course, if you drive in a car and you actually want to record yourself, but compare the car setup you would have to do with a phone, basically a tripod and putting your phone onto it. You can also use something else like the car mount and just mount it somewhere and then record yourself. Compared to if you have to put up a heavy thing like this, you cannot just put it on the glass in front of you and then let it hang there. You have to, it's just, this is probably 100 to 200 grams, and this is a few hundred grams. So that's also a distinction. This means now, the fourth point is just easiness of use. It's just so much easier to use a phone. Of course, you can connect an external mic to your phone whenever you are in a place where you don't have to change things all the time. But whenever you are not in this place, what this enables you to do is to just record anything you are at. If you are on a boat and there is something interesting, just record it and it will be the same quality as all of the other videos. That's called standardization. If you just standardize everything to phone quality, then everything is just phone quality. There is no distinction. You don't have to think, oh yeah, is this that interesting? For example, if you record a random bird, or if you are at the zoo and you want to record something like an animal, or if you are at a show, or if you are at an Ed Sheeran concert and you actually want to record a few things. If you bring a camera like this, everybody will be like, oh yeah, copyright. But if you just record it on your phone, like everybody else at this point in time, nobody cares. Nobody cares about copyright. Also, there have been people, no, let's just not talk about this point. It's just too much for this video, I guess. So, when I finally, also, here's another point. The fifth point, basically. The distribution. Because your phone is already a computer, a mobile computer, you could theoretically record all of these things on here and upload them straight to YouTube without ever having to transfer them to your notebook. If you do this process again and again and again, because the notebook is just bigger and has more processing power and also a keyboard, it just makes more sense to transfer the files nevertheless to a notebook. But if you only want to get started or only take things and post them to Instagram, then you can just do all the workflow on your phone. You just take the pictures on your phone and you just post it on your phone. That's it. That's the whole workflow. And it's just so easy. It's like TikTok. Just imagine if all these TikTokers actually had to have like really chunky cameras, like even like 4 times the size, and actually record all of these things like 20 years ago or 40 or 50 years ago in cinema cameras. But now we have these cinema cameras, or at least kind of the quality, not really kind of, but it comes close to the quality. You can record 4K, usually full HD, with a phone in your pocket. And if you open up an app like TikTok, all the distribution and file management is just gone, because an app like TikTok just made it so easy. Just made it as easy as pointing towards it, then stopping, and then pointing to the next thing, then stopping, and it's automatically edited together into a video. You automatically edit it whenever you are recording, because it's intuitively designed that you don't have to sit down and then edit the video for 2 hours. And that just makes it so easy. Also, theoretically, with the Galaxy S10, for example, because this video, for example, stopped in the middle, I can now just take the video, and there is a native editor, and I just use the native editor to just splice these two, not really splice, but combine these two clips. And then they have the same format as the recording format on the camera is. If I instead took these files and imported them into DaVinci Resolve, a video editing software, then I had to export them, and then maybe I just wouldn't have the same file format. This now means all of these points combined. For me, this basically was the switch that turned me from, oh yeah, I could do something with filming and YouTube, into me actually filming. This doesn't mean that I now have a huge following or whatsoever. This whole part is just separated from it. But if you don't record all the different things, if you don't record, if all the things just constrain or just prevent you from recording the things recording the ideas or the things or whatever you want to record, if they all prevent you and make it harder, then you just are less likely to record. And if you are recording, you're just recording less. Because, for example, if I have now a random idea, for example, I just had lunch, not just, but a few hours ago I had lunch, and I had this idea, what if I just showed this random food idea, basically. And then I just grabbed my phone and pointed it at it, and after a minute I was done. If I now instead wanted to record it with a camera, then I would not have been done, because the file then would be on my camera, and I first had to transfer it to my notebook, and then, oh yeah, I realized the audio wasn't, just many more things. So the final resolution is why, the final answer, let's rather say, to the question why I don't record that much, or why I don't record these videos on my camera, because it is a more streamlined process, because it's so much simpler, because I have to think about it just less and can concentrate on the ideas much more, because I wanted to have a very lean setup, because I wanted to have a lean setup wherever I am, because I wanted to have the same quality wherever I am, because I wanted to be able to record everything I am physically at with my phone. And that's why I also record these videos with my phone.